Hi, my name is Matt Brown. I am the head cheesemaker and plant manager at Cowgirl Creamery in beautiful Petaluma, California, and you are listening to Ingredient Insiders.
This is Ingredient Insiders, and I'm Andrea Parkins. On each episode of Ingredient Insiders, we talk to chefs and food writers about their favorite ingredients, and then we get to interview the producer of that ingredient to talk about its history, how it's made, and why chefs love using it in their kitchens. On this extra special episode, myself and our infamous category manager, Michele Glancey, had an opportunity to tour and talk to the head cheesemaker at Cowgirl Creamery. And most chefs, as soon as I say it, they know exactly the cheeses that I'm talking about. Mount Tam, Red Hawk, and how infamous they really are. When I started working at Chefs 15 years ago, they weren't even available on the East Coast, and we had chefs begging us to bring them in. Now we stock them across the country, and their story really lives on through the two women that founded the company, Sue Conley and Peggy Smith, after their hippie trip to San Francisco, where they realized that they had a true passion for cheese making. They linked up with the head of Strauss Dairy, which we also got to tour, which was really cool. And now they're making some of the best cheeses in Northern California. I want to give a shout out to the California Milk Advisory Board, who took us on this amazing journey throughout California, and give an extra shout out to Lloyd and Katie and Mike for touring our entire group around dairies and creameries and ice cream and butter makers. It was an absolutely incredible experience that I will never forget. So I can't wait for you to hear our interview with Matt Brown, who's the head cheesemaker at Cowgirl Creamery in Northern California.
This episode is in partnership with the Chef's Warehouse and produced by Gotham Production Studios in New York City.
All right, we are sitting here on our final day of our West Coast tour in a really, really special place. We are in Petaluma, California. We are on day 9 of our trip, and we are sitting here at Cowgirl Creamery, which I think to be ending here is really special considering the history and the story behind it. What's also super special is we have a special host with us today. We have Michele Glancey, who is our cheese and liquid dairy category manager at Chef's Warehouse.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's a pleasure.
And we're joined by the head cheesemaker, plant manager, Matt Brown.
Yep.
So thank you for...
Oh, pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for including me in this crazy trip that y'all been doing.
Yeah.
We had to. Everywhere we've been,
They say come here.
they say talk to
Gotta
Cowgirl
finish
Creamery.
here. Awesome.
So this is where we are.
Well, thank you for coming, and excited to sit down with you guys today.
Yeah, so this is our 6th interview, and when we were driving here, our amazing brand manager, Andrew Steelman, said almost at every interview that we had, the cheesemaker brought up Sue Conley and Peg Smith, who are the founders of Cowgirl Creamery.
Yeah.
Speaking about them in a way that they're kind of the pioneers of the cheese making in this area of California.
Yeah, 100% correct. Blessed to have an opportunity to work with Peg and Sue in my personal past and my career in cheese. And I think you hit the nail on the head. For a lot of folks, they see Peg and Sue and Cowgirl Creamery at large as the kind of the industry starters of the American cheese scene on the West Coast. And I think can speak volumes to, even locally, the amount of cheesemakers that when we started were around us, and how they've been not only proof of passion panning out, but also a resource for these other cheesemakers to help get them started and get their cheeses to the market. We're proud to say that, we started in 97 and we're still going strong, but not only are we going strong, but the community of cheesemakers around us have continued to grow as well.
I think that they are, like you said, pioneers in what they were doing. What I've listened to from them, I've had the pleasure to meet them, but then also hearing them be interviewed. It's about community, right? And bringing up everybody with them.
Yeah.
Because you're more successful as a village.
Exactly.
And I do think that that is a theme that we've run into while we've been in Northern California.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, even beyond cheese, really the catalyst, the instigation for Cowgirl Creamery and the passion for Peg and Sue starting this business was actually just a vehicle for organic milk. That's really the name of the game for Cowgirl Creamery. And that all started back in 94. The very first dairy west of the Mississippi was going organic, Blake's Landing out in Marshall, California. You guys drove past yesterday, and Peg and Sue at the time actually were esteemed chefs. Sue had a great bistro in Berkeley that she had started and been running. And then Peg had been a chef at Chez Panisse for 17 years. And so meeting the Strauss family, hearing the story and the passion about going organic and what that meant for the quality of their milk, and both being from chef backgrounds, understood that a raw ingredient of the highest quality is going to equal that much more of a delicious value-added product, and for them that became cheese. But ultimately, the cheese was a vehicle to start the conversation, to talk about organic dairying. We're in a very, very special location in the state of California and the country at large, where we have a very long history of dairy farming, and many of those roots that were just the way things have been done for many, many years really are what the foundation of organic dairying is about, is really, again, the most basic level I love to say is you receive soil and you receive land, and organic farming is supposed to improve upon the land that you receive. And they saw this as a means to voice that to the Bay Area audience at large. They knew we're excited about this. Farm to table movement was just really getting started, knowing where your food came from and knowing that it came from a sustainable and high quality source is important. And they said, you know what, if we can continue to promote this, it's going to encourage our farmers to go organic. It's going to encourage us to be able to buy, initially locally from organic producers of herbs and spices that we were using for some of our previous cheeses to top with. And so they saw themselves as basically, a means to create excitement behind what they thought was something to be excited about, which was organic dairy farming here in Sonoma County. So that again sprung this idea that not only was organic cheese very delicious and people in the Bay Area were excited about it and California at large, but that there was this audience for cheese coming from this area. And so they really were the catalyst of saying, you know what, similar to the Jean Delot in France and Neal's Yard Dairy in the British Isles, we have this opportunity to collect the cheeses of Northern California, Sonoma and Marin counties, and basically market them as a taste of place, right? Terroir, it's really definition and understanding that the history, the inputs of the amazing milk that was being used, and just the passion of the cheesemakers that were coming up in this area, that they could then market that and find an audience, again, primarily in the Bay Area to begin with, at California, and now going strong since 1997. We actually have a nationwide reach, which is, again, like you mentioned, this opportunity for not only our growth, but then the producers we've continued to grow with, able to grow with us, in this area and find success, because it's a tough business. Dairy farming is a tough business. Artisan cheese, high quality foods can be a tough business. And so if we're, again, collectively coming together, it's that much more strength behind us.
Right.
How did they learn how to make cheese? You're talking about chefs, and I've worked in a kitchen.
For sure.
I think everyone sitting at this table has worked in a kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how to make some of these amazing cheeses.
Of course,
did they travel to Europe?
Yeah, they spent a lot of time in Europe. They had opportunities like the two companies I mentioned, Jean Delot and Neal's Yard Dairy, were critical in understanding how their businesses have been successful, but each of them, beyond collecting and distributing cheeses of their locale, had also started to dabble with a little bit of fresh cheese to begin with, the most simple cheese as far as the production, and not necessarily having the affinage resources needed. And so Peggy and Sue took a first stab at fresh cheeses, and so it was very basic cheeses, but again, coming from a chef background, they also understood the presence in the kitchen that these fresh cheeses could have as ingredients as well, and the importance. And so a lot of that was, kind of trial and error, again, working with some folks from Europe. And then when it came to progress to our actual soft ripen line and ultimately what became Mount Tam, it was really reaching out to a consultant from Europe, from actually the Netherlands, to come out and really spend close to a year and a half with us, actually getting recipes set up. And it's a classic story of what really makes our soft ripened cheeses unique is their triple cream, which is a name most people can at least know a little bit about, but the actual make process and what makes Mount Tam, especially a American original, is the fact that we actually use what's a Gouda recipe in the production of it. And so, Hans, who was the consultant working with Peggy and Sue at the time, said we have to make something of a kind of Gouda background, because I come from the Netherlands, and Peggy and Sue said we wanted something that's a little bit more approachable and white molded and kind of like a brie style of cheese. And those two things were married together to, I think, again, make something that's very approachable and somewhat familiar in looks to people that are into artisan cheese, but then has a differentiation that really creates a unique experience and has helped to continue to differentiate Mount Tam from other similar white molded soft ripened cheeses. So,
what are the hallmarks of that Gouda recipe that translates to the present day?
Exactly.
Recipe?
So it's in its simplest. It's we have a step in the cheese making process where we have liquid milk. We create curds. The curds are swimming in a bath of whey. Whey contains a lot of the lactose, and we drain a solid portion of that whey off, and we instead add back fresh water. It's considered a curd washing step, but really the ultimate thing that we're doing is we're depleting the lactose that the curds are then swimming in and are ultimately going to get captured in the forms to produce the cheese in, and we lessen the lactose so that it is then kind of, I consider it the fuel that the cheese is going to use to mature. And so what it means for us is when you cut into even the most mature, ripe Mount Tam, Devil's Gulch, Pierce Point, Red Hawk, you're always going to still have a little bit of a core to the center of that cheese. And again, it differentiates us because the cheese, again, doesn't have that fuel to completely melt down and have a super, super soft paste all the way through. It's still very, very rich, very, very smooth on the outside. But that core, I think, one, differentiates us, keeps a unique product, and it creates a conversation to talk about cheese making. But then also, again, Peggy and Sue, understanding from the chef background, it makes that cheese that's much more approachable to work with, whether it is on a cheese board or cooking with. A beautifully ripe Mount Tam is still going to have that structure that allows it to be portioned and not run off the table, run off the plate. Crumbled even in some of the younger Mount Tams on top of salads and such. So I think it's a curd washing step, differentiates it. It's actually honestly not the best for us in competitions. A lot of people see soft cheese, white mold, and they see that core, and it's considered a flaw in some things. But really for us, it's the marketing team loves it's cheese with heart, but it also I think has really done a great job differentiating us, and then also creating a more improved product to work with in the kitchen as well.
You mentioned Red Hawk.
Yeah.
Red Hawk was a gateway wash rind for me.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So as a young cheesemonger,
yeah,
you baby step into some more profound flavor profiles.
Exactly.
So Red Hawk really turned me on to wash rinds.
No, I love, I cut my teeth on the counter as well as a cheesemonger in San Francisco, and that shy, embarrassed, first to artisan cheese, customer in the back, not wanting to engage at the counter. Obviously was a slice of Mount Tam was the first thing that I offered them. It's just like, oh my gosh, let's have a conversation about what the heck I just put in my mouth. But Red Hawk really, like you mentioned, is an ability to step up that flavor profile a little bit more intensity and more full flavoredness that you get with the wash rind style, but also it's just an approachable, soft kind of sweet pungency, which again, barnyardy can get thrown around in the wash rind category, and it's just a way to romantically say the cheese is a little bit overly funky. And I like to think that Red Hawk is just like you mentioned, a little bit more of an approachable and on the kind of pungency scale, a little bit on the sweeter side, which again, it's all about, I think the name of the game for Cowgirl Creamery too is that Peg and Sue wanted to make really amazing, high quality, artisanal, handmade cheese with organic milk, but they wanted to be approachable. They didn't want to be overly pretentious. They didn't want to have a cheese that had a real niche market as far as a consumer with the most experienced palate was only going to experience this and say, oh my gosh, you really have to know cheese to love this cheese. It really was about, let's make cheese that's approachable. Let's make cheese that, again, is great for a snack, is great for cooking with, is great on a cheese board. It's universal, but not get too full of ourselves. Let's make cheese that is going to be enjoyed by the masses. So I think it's a really cool aspect of Cowgirl as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Mount Tam, which is, I think, probably the most popular.
The keystone cheese for us for sure. Yeah,
and then Red Hawk.
Yep,
and then you have kind of variations of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
With the herbs and chili that you put on top, right?
Yeah. So we kind of build upon, again, at the heart of it, our soft cheeses we make are triple cream. That's going to be the most, I think, definable feature. The addition of cream, the butterfat content of these cheeses is absolutely just amazing for both texture and flavor. Mount Tam, again, like you mentioned, is a great, approachable kind of most mild flavor profile of that collection of soft cheeses we make. Red Hawk, again, on the opposite end of the spectrum. And then we allow cheese to bloom, that white mold as well, like Mount Tam does. But then again, like you mentioned, add a little bit of a flavor addition to it. I think flavored cheeses right now have a really interesting time where they're very, very excited. ACS this year awarding a flavored cheese in the top 3 best of show. It's I think an exciting opportunity for us to say we have this really great base cheese we're really excited about, but adding, as you said, the Devil's Gulch with the spicy pepper, a little bit of hit, but not over the top again, keeping it approachable. Calendula, Thai basil to give a bright kind of herbaceous and beautiful, I think, kick of color on the Pierce Point are two of, again, the topped cheeses that are, again, still that triple cream base, beautiful bloomy rind with a little bit of flavor addition on top. And that kind of rounds out our kind of year-long or available year-round soft cheeses. And then we produce 2 kind of different style pressed curd, cooked curd cheeses that, again, really were the inception behind them was to be cooked with. And then, to round out the catalog, we do have one seasonal offering that we produce in the springtime. We have a beautiful heart-shaped, bloomy rinded triple cream called Heart's Desire that, although is at the base of it, a Mount Tam in a different shape. I was offering to you guys yesterday. It's actually a really educational thing for my team to see, has a different size and a different rind to paste ratio, we say, and it actually matures differently. So it's a great educational tool for my team to see kind of how difference in shapes of cheese actually have a really big impact, but also, it's cool for us to have a new cheese coming out during Valentine's Day, during Mother's Day to kind of help celebrate the hearts. It's always funny to see what people do on the 15th of February, locally, our markets, they'll find them with a cut in half, and it's like the broken heart. So they make the most of those. But Heart's Desire is our own one seasonal cheese right now, and
smashed on the floor
exactly.
outside. Don't with this.
That's the collection of cheeses. We've had ebbs and flows of cheese. Like I said, we started with fresh cheese. Yeah. We've had some other top cheeses throughout the years. We have a cheese that still lives in infamy, Sir Francis Drake. That was actually another missed opportunity with our Mount Tam. We did a different wash on with some emaciated currants on the bottom, and it was a fan favorite. So we've had a lot of cheese over the years, but really kind of focusing on what we found to be the most successful in the creamery and the most successful with our customers, and continued on with those, and excited to continue to expand the portfolio as well.
Are Peg and Sue still involved?
Peg and Sue at this point, not involved day to day.
Okay.
So for quite some time, they were considered still ambassadors. They are very, very ambitious women that thankfully have found some time in retirement to continue to pursue their own passion. Still very, very involved with organic dairy in the local area. No on J measure on your sweatshirt there. They're a part of a big coalition right now, kind of helping to save organic farms at large. Sue still has an amazing resource here in Petaluma that she has as kind of a shared space for people that have environmentally minded groups coming together. So they're still very active in dairying. On the day-to-day operations from Cowgirl, though, they've been able to take a step back, thankfully. Actually, I had Sue visiting a couple months ago with an up-and-coming ice cream maker who was interested in seeing the plant. So they do visit time to time, stopping by here at our distribution center as well. But as far as the day-to-day operations, they've been able to take a step back as far as now. So, yeah.
This season of Ingredient Insiders is brought to you by Bizzini Nuts, a name synonymous with exceptional quality and taste in the world of gourmet nuts and dried fruits. Whether you're crafting a Michelin star-worthy dish or just whipping up something delicious in your home kitchen, Bizzini's premium selection is designed to inspire your culinary creativity. Elevate your dishes with the rich texture and flavors that only Bizzini nuts can offer. From toasted almonds, perfect for garnishing, to pistachios that add a crunch to your salads, Bizzini has everything you need to enhance your recipes. Don't miss this chance to impress your palate and your guests with Bizzini nuts, the chef's choice for quality and flavor. So what is innovation like then? I'm thinking about, okay, we have these, I'm going to call them 6 cheeses.
Yeah, the core cheeses,
the
for
core
sure.
cheeses. How do you and how does Cowgirl approach innovation now moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we moved into a brand new facility in 2018, and we had the need to keep consistency of all of our products in a brand new facility with a brand new equipment. So I would say for a couple of years, innovation for us was making sure we could hit the marks on cheeses that were well known in the community in a brand new space. Hopalong was the most recent cheese for us, and that was identifying that we had, actually specifically customers like your own. We had Wagon Wheel, which is a great cooking cheese, a great melting cheese, a very big step away from the soft ripened cheeses we started with, but it was also almost a 20-pound wheel. And so certain restaurants, certain counts where, it was daunting to bring on that much cheese if they didn't have a means to turn it over as quick as possible. And so innovation for us for our most recent cheese that is distributed nationwide is Hopalong was, we wanted to touch on all the great things that made Wagon Wheel amazing, but also make it in a smaller format. It was a little bit more approachable, still differentiating with a little bit more of a softer and sweeter flavor profile as far as how the make goes and the aging profile that the cheese has. So it's about identifying a gap, but I would say, most recently our biggest new release this year was just also identifying that even that, the full wheels and a smaller wheel, we still had areas of the country we weren't able to get Wagon Wheel Hopalong to, and retailers that don't have cheesemongers. And so, this year's name of the game was how do we get commitment from a company that has similar views as ours, that can do a cut and wrap program for us so we can have an exact weight piece program that we can actually get now Wagon Wheel Hopalong out to bigger markets. And then, right now, I think innovation, it has to include everybody. It has to include finance, it has to include marketing, sales, and obviously operations. Everyone kind of has their must-haves as far as, points to cover and points to meet. There has to be a need, obviously, in the market. It has to be something that we can make very, very good as far as the creamery and the flavors. And, it has to be also something that fits into our catalog, right? We have to something that doesn't cannibalize another cheese, something that complements the cheeses. So marrying all those things together, I think we're looking, like I mentioned, some of the more flavor additions. So actually variations of current product profiles, especially with our pressed curd line. We don't have any actual flavor in the paste of those cheeses. So experimenting with some of those things. I think, differentiating on the soft cheeses, we've experimented with some geo-rinded cheeses that are small and soft and whole milk. And so looking at how can we continue to utilize the amazing organic milk we have, again, build upon the catalog we have, meet a need and meet something out there that the market's looking for. And then, do it in a way that, cost makes sense as well. We can have a sales point and a production cost for it that makes financial sense as well. Because as we've learned over the last couple of years, it's been tumultuous, and being an artisan good, you have to make sure that there is a demand for that, and so it has to be calculated. And we're lucky though. Also, like I mentioned, we've been around for so long. We work with an amazing team of distributors and retailers. So in the past, for instance, with Hop Along, we were able to leverage those connections and actually get cheese as far as trials out to folks and to get feedback from cheesemongers and counters and restaurants and chefs before we go whole hog and actually produce something commercially. But it's calculated, and it's difficult and sometimes daunting when you have so much to do to begin with the cheeses you have on hand, and again, still working through the perfection. I think cheeses is like, it's a living organism that can always be better. So as much as I'm interested in making new cheese, I'm also interested in making our current cheeses better. And so just balancing all those things that it makes sense for everybody.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you have a chef background.
I worked in kitchens since I was 15. So
what are some of the most notable preparations you've seen for like a Mount Tam, a Red Hawk, composed cheese dishes? Mount Tam
is something that people just think has to be, enjoyed by itself and respected in itself. But I've actually, it still actually melts amazingly. There's a couple crocks that folks make, ceramic crocks that fit a Mount Tam absolutely perfectly, and low in the oven with a little bit of fresh herbs on top. And you can come out with basically a dipping Mount Tam. It's dangerous. It's like, personally, you can kill a Mount Tam really quickly and then forget that was a whole Mount Tam you just ate. Actually, a beautiful truffle pate. We don't source here, but from Italy, that we've found and we've used actually for some of our gift boxes in the holiday time. If you cut a Mount Tam in half, so it's kind of through the middle, so you have a hamburger kind of, and then just a spoonful of truffle pate in the middle, and then let it kind of marry back in wrapping for a hour before you break it open. It is an amazing truffle kind of influence without actually having to add the truffle into the paste of the cheese. So those are kind of two unique things. I personally at the creamery eat like a 2 to 3 week old Mount Tam that's still kind of bright and acidic, melted on an English muffin with a hard-boiled egg every single day. Have so for probably the last 15 years, 10 years. So yeah, it's a great cooking cheese, and a lot of people want to treat it as a refined cheese, and that's great as well. But I think it can be also used to prepare things crumbled on top of salad, especially when it's a little bit younger as well. Red Hawk, absolutely amazing on polenta. I love to do polenta cakes with Red Hawk. So make some polenta, cool it down, and then fry it to get a little crisp on the outside and melt Red Hawk on the top. It's an amazing accompaniment. So yeah, a lot of people look to our pressed curd cheeses that are made to melt. Were originally made for cooking as the go-to cooking cheeses, but honestly, the soft cheeses as well can be great additions in the kitchen. So yeah, the flavor profiles of Pierce Point and Devil's Gulch, all those things that I just mentioned for, especially with like, in my opinion, either adding to soups or salads. You had the little more herbaceousness with Pierce Point, a little spice with the Devil's Gulch. It kind of adds an added aspect as well.
So how did you get into cheese making? I mean, you're working, in kitchens since you're 15. Yeah. You've been here for going on 15 years.
Yeah. It's been
Tell us about your
around
journey.
Food for a long time. Yeah. Luckily, I met Peg and Sue when they were just opening a cafe in the Ferry Building in San Francisco. So I had just finished a marketing degree at San Francisco State. I had been working in kitchens in San Francisco while I was going to college. Since I was 15, I was working in kitchens, and they just opened a cafe. I just finished a business degree. I had a couple marketing interviews and decided that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do right away. And I met Sue for a manager position at the Sidekick Cafe at a Pete's Coffee in the Ferry Building. I still remember showing up my bike ride, sweaty as can be and all embarrassed, and just be like, I have to do this, I have to go. And having an amazing interview, hearing that the manager position had just been given away to somebody she had an interview with in the morning, but that she wanted to find a spot for me. She had a connection with me. And so I got started at Sidekick Cafe as their assistant manager and helped get that cafe running. But then next door was our cheese shop, the Ferry Building Cheese Shop, which for many years was one of the highest moving cheese shops in really the world. The amount of cheese coming through that building was absolutely amazing. And at the time, actually, there was a group of cheesemongers there that have gone on to still continue to this day, run cheese shops in Santa Fe, San Bernardino, out in Maine, be a part of Jasper Hill, be a part of Uplands. There's an amazing team there that actually, were invested and were going to go on to have cheese careers that I had an opportunity to meet and show me what cheesemongering was. And I actually moved from the cafe and took a huge pay cut to become just a baseline cheesemonger because I wanted to become a cheesemonger, and worked at the shop for about 4 years selling cheese, became the cheese buyer, the manager of the shop. And all of a sudden I had this aha moment of hearing all these stories and sharing all these stories, these amazing producers with the customers who are enjoying their cheese, that my background in the kitchen and, as much as I loved the retail world, my real heart was with the cheese, not necessarily the selling of the cheese, that I was like, I think I could make cheese, and that's the next step for me. And so it took following one of the cheesemongers I'd worked with who had apprenticed at Jasper but had landed at Uplands, reaching out to say, hey, can I use you as a reference for the Jasper Hill internship? And she said, sure enough, but we also have an opening here, and Andy's seen a lot of success with my transition, and we'd love to offer you an opportunity to apprentice at Uplands. And so 2012, I left Cowgirl, and my wife, we just gotten married, was crazy enough to follow me to Wisconsin. And I spent a little over a year making cheese at Uplands, which was absolutely amazing. It was trial by fire, right? The seasonal cheese production there. It also made me love how much we do things differently here at Cowgirl. But it was, the best way to go, 70-hour weeks and just be head over heels involved with the cheese-making process. Unfortunately for Andy, it was the year of the acquisition of the farm. And so he was really busy with, actually purchasing the farm. And so what was promised to me to be a cheese washer, I ended up being in the make room making cheese pretty quickly. And I decided this is something that I was really interested in. It was also the same year the ACS conference was in Madison. And so Peg and Sue and Maureen and Eric Patterson at the time, who were overseeing production, came out for a big party we had at Uplands and said, we should have never let you go. And I said, I don't intend to be in Wisconsin the rest of my life. And so after a year apprenticing there, Peggy and Sue reached out. They were restructuring some things in the creamery, and they had an opportunity for me to come back and not only be a cheesemaker, but to be in leadership. And so I had signed on for a second year with Uplands and had planned to be there at least a couple of years, but it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. My family was here, and I wanted to be back in California. So it was a beautiful opportunity. I still have amazing connections in Wisconsin, which is really awesome. And Andy was probably the best person to learn cheese making from, which didn't hurt. And then, able to take those skills and came back. Actually, originally was making cheese just in Point Reyes. We had a small creamery out there, and I was just making Red Hawk for about 2 years, and then slowly transitioned into to overseeing the production in Petaluma as well. And since 3 years ago, we've consolidated production all in Petaluma, and continuing to oversee that has been honestly something that I've worked for since I was bugging Maureen to come into the creamery 15 years ago, and worked hard and believed in the brand and believed in the cheese and believed in the cause, and thankfully still here today to be able to share that with you and your audience.
I mean, I think for me, yesterday we were lucky enough to take a tour of the facility.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have no idea what goes in to making cheese.
Yeah.
And it is
it's
overly
romanticized. It's like the first thing. I'm not as involved in the day-to-day hiring any longer, but that was like the first thing. So we're not like sipping Pinot while we watch cows go past the windows.
Right.
It's hard work. It's really, really hard work.
And it never really stops.
Had to mention, exactly. And that's a very important thing too in the cheese making process is sustainability, not from even your resources for your raw milk, but also for your staff. I mean, I had a chance to really point that out yesterday. I think how proud we are of the level of staff we have that has been with us for 5, 10, 15 plus years like myself, and being able to find a sustainable way of wanting to financially make enough cheese to be a successful business, but also doing it that works with our staff. So it takes a lot for the wheel to go around, but able to see yesterday, a little bit of the hard work going in, the space, obviously sanitation, you got to see a little bit of that at the end of the day, and that's cornerstone to making great cheese is great sanitation. So very proud of the team we have, and of the facility we have. It's a very kind of rare thing to see. A brand new facility is 6 or 7 years old, and proud to keep it running as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. A question that I often get asked, since cheese is my career, is, don't you want to be a cheesemaker?
Yeah.
And my answer is no.
Yeah.
Because you guys really do spend a tremendous amount of time doing so many other things besides cheese making.
For
So
sure.
you can tell, like traveling through your facility yesterday, that you do have a passionate team. You guys are there for the love
Much
of making
appreciated.
cheese. And
Yeah, no, it's such a regulated industry, and again, being organic and the level of standards we hold ourselves to and required certifications is, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And at the end of the day, cheese making is sometimes only 20 or 30% of what we're actually doing day to day. It's, yesterday, again, I left with you guys and had a milk pump go down that I had to figure out how to get a milk pump fixed by the end of the day so we can start making cheese again this morning. And so, there's a lot of, and it's, beyond the living ingredients and the cheese living and the uniqueness we have throughout the seasons with the cheese itself, the plant in itself, the people in it are almost living, breathing beings all themselves. And so there's a lot of things to manage. And at the end of the day, it's consistency. And if we can manage all those variables, whether it be the raw ingredients, the equipment, the ideal staff we need, that's consistency is what we're trying to hit, and can be difficult, but the passionate people find a way to do it. So.
you mentioned the milk pump.
Yeah.
Milk reception.
Yeah.
Can we touch back again on who you're working with?
Yeah,
present
for sure.
day,
Yeah.
patron farmers, who
Yeah.
you're...
So we have a collection of about 4 or 5 family farms that are all, at this point, I think within a 12 to 15 mile radius of our Petaluma plant. And so first and foremost, that is important for fresh milk, milk being tanked from farther distances across interstate lines. You have obviously the age of the milk to worry about. So the fact we're getting it locally is of the utmost importance for freshness, as well as it's a certified organic milk. So a lot of things people don't maybe understand is, certified organic is a third-party operation where, the standards are universal for all dairy farms. And so the fact that, we're able to work with 4 different dairy farms, the fact that they're all certified organic is going to be that mark of excellence that is assuring us the quality of the milk from the organic farming inputs that are creating that milk are going to be there. And then coupled, with the proximity, the fact that we have milk that's coming to us fresh. And then, the transit time also is the sloshing of the milk. If you're not going to be getting it farmstead directly from the milk tank where it's being milked into, proximity is going to be key as well. And so working with local independent family farms is, still, again, cornerstone to the quality of the milk we use to make the cheese that we're so proud to make.
Are you getting deliveries every day?
Typically, right now we're about to get very close to every day. Our goal is to utilize milk day of, if not the next morning after, to finish up a load. And so, that, and then coupled with the fact we make a cream added product is, Mount Tam and the other soft ripened cheeses we have. We have cream inventories we work with as well from local cream producers. And so, as fresh as we can keep it and the quickest we can make cheese with it is always our goal. And then balancing that with, production and staffing, all the things that go into making sure that all the inputs are there. But I would say milk is always a priority. Milk is always going to be the one that takes everyone else making accommodations to make sure we're using the freshest milk that we can. And it's an opportunity to visit these farms and to know the people that are, again, generational farmers that are doing things the way that they know things should be done is, and knowing that we're just taking that milk and again, giving it legs and giving it the opportunity to get out to a wider market is super, super exciting.
I think what I've learned on this trip, we interviewed Albert Strauss.
Yeah.
And he was telling us that, some years ago there was over 500 dairies in California, and now we're into the teens.
Yeah.
And, just really, thinking about food and thinking about, longevity and how important it is to educate and everybody on
100%.
Where things are coming from and how things are made, and that it's not just this piece of cheese. It took a lot for it to get onto that shelf.
Specifically too for us, as we've seen in the last 5 years, is plant-based dairy alternatives and their options to sometimes demonize agricultural based or animal-based agriculture. And what Albert specifically has done, we've worked with Albert for many, many years, is he's been an inspiration and really a model of excellence that other people can emulate. I mean, Blake's Landing, the original farm that went organic, is now carbon neutral. He's been able to show that he can actually take dairy farming, which is considered this huge methane driver, and you can actually do it in a way that you can be carbon neutral, if not actually through regenerative agriculture and carbon sequestration. You can actually take more carbon out of the air than your cows are emitting in the form of methane. And he's been able to actually show how that's profitable I probably spoke about this, about actual forage growth that he does with this carbon sequestration. So it's important because, as you mentioned, the the difficulty in being a dairy farmer here as part of our history, our local history, has become more and more financially difficult. It's, we have water issues, we have land issues. There's a lot of interest in land from many different commodities and people wanting to expand communities. And so dairy farming has had a lot of difficulties. And that's why we've always seen, if we can, again, give this value-added product that we can work with the dairy and grow with the dairy, that, again, our success equals their success is all of our success. So, Albert's been amazing and still to this day is an inspiration to a lot of us here in Northern California.
I think this trip really celebrates that. And so
Absolutely.
finishing, the tour here with you, I think, it's really special.
Beautiful.
But I mean, even before you started your day, you drove your bike 20 miles. Is this a daily thing for you? I saw your bike when we walked in.
My sanity check. Yeah, no, I'm only getting older, and a lot of the folks I work with keep getting younger, it seems. And so it's an ability for me to stay fit, but also, I do some of my best thinking. It's something I've been doing for years now. And so it's kind of a hour of meditation in the morning to get myself prepared and think about the day ahead. And honestly, I roll through back roads. A lot of calves out right now. In the spring, you see the sheep and the goats. And so it's also just a testament to kind of, reconnecting with the area that I'm helping to try to promote and save. So, but sometimes it's about to get rainy, so I'll have to drive then. Yeah.
So when it rains, you don't.
I do drive the car.
Okay, that's very fair.
And if I have to be here, I used to be at 6 a.m. in Point Reyes, or a lot of times I'll be here. We're a part of an amazing network, the Emmy family, which is based in Switzerland, and I have a lot of meetings that are on Swiss time. So if I have to be at the creamery at 6 or 7 o'clock for a meeting, definitely not driving or riding my bike in the dark. But whenever I can, I try to fit it in there for sanity's sake. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Can I ask just a little off topic?
Yeah.
Aside from your own cheeses that you produce, what's your favorite cheese?
I know it's hard.
It's a hard one.
It's seasonal.
You don't have to. You can pick a seasonal fave.
Man. I'm partial to Pleasant Ridge Reserve.
Of course.
Craft singles.
Craft singles have their place. My wife loves queso, just queso dipped from the jar. And so I'm a fan of all cheese.
Yeah.
I love, in springtime, early summer, obviously mozzarella, and burrata are beautiful cheeses. I love to cook with cheese, anything that's able to be used also in recipes. I always have a huge chunk of Parmigiano Reggiano in my fridge. Cloth-bound cheddar sometimes in the fall I get really into. But I would say probably, generically Alpine cheeses are my favorite. And I'd say Pleasant Ridge Reserve holds a special place in my heart. So,
do you get your own Rush Creek Reserve sent to you from
Andy? Andy will send out Rush Creek Reserves.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I have in my laundry room, I have every single one of his wife's paintings up there with the years as well. So
I bought one of her paintings many years ago.
Caitlin's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
It's exceptional. Yeah. It's a true treasure in the house.
No, it's almost that time of year. It's the mark of the start of fall, and you start to see some Rush Creeks and Winnemere's and all those beautiful cheeses.
So you mentioned, being under the Emmy umbrella.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how that has impacted your day to day?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say for me personally, it's been an amazing increase of personal resources. Emmy, I want to say the late 90s, early 2000s, started to see that there had reached a ceiling of cheese in Switzerland and Europe at large. And so there was an emerging market in the United States, and started to work with these established companies in the United States that had found success to understand the market. And so being a part of now the Emmy, full-on network, we're also a part of even more local Emmy network. And so I have Cypress Grove up in Arcata. I have Redwood Hill Farms just locally here in Sebastopol. Emmy Roth, we're a sister company with and a part of, is an amazing resource in Wisconsin. And so we have a local network, but then even personally, I've had amazing opportunities. I spent nearly 2 months in Switzerland last year with the opportunity to tour around and basically make cheese at about 6 different Emmy facilities and broaden my understanding of what's possible. And also, again, my network of cheesemaking colleagues that I have now. And so, it's been a wealth of resources, I would say, and definitely a huge broadening of a network of people who have similar minded. Emmy is a co-op that's over 100 years old of initially Swiss farmers who are looking to make sure they can secure appropriate pricing for the milk that they knew they were producing of high quality. And I think that, thankfully falls right in line with a lot of the same qualities that we're looking for at Cowgirl Creamery.
Amazing. Well, if you're a chef and you're listening to this right now, and you are drooling and you want to try
County, yes.
Cowgirl Creamery, please pick up the phone, call your sales rep, have them place an order.
For sure.
You can also find these cheeses at chefswarehouse.com. or your local cheese purveyor.
By all means, yeah. If there's a market out there that's yet to experience the beautiful of Mount Tam, I would say start there. And then, all of our cheeses can be available through Chef's Warehouse. And so connect to the person you know that's best to connect with. And we'd love to get our cheeses out for you to sample, to give a taste of. And I'm always here as a resource as well. So more cheese to more people, the better for all of us. So
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much,
Michelle.
Congratulations.
Thanks for having me, Andrea.
First episode. Love it.
Well done.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you
Thank
both.
you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders. Follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders. You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or at your favorite specialty retailer.